My racist coworker is mad that I speak multiple languages and tried to report me to the manager after I got with her crush. Now she's lost in her own entitlement. My coworker gets mad when I interact with customers in their native language. She'd say, "Just speak English, they'll understand you." Or, "Why are you being so extra?" Even though I know it makes them comfortable when I speak to them in their native language. She even goes as far as accusing me of being a spoiled and privileged little white girl. She told me average people don't speak nor get to learn so many languages and that my daddy's money paid for it. I told her that my family is actually really poor, and I never even met my father, but either way she didn't have a right to speak to me that way. Because of how she treats me, I would never hang out with her outside of work. But one night I was invited to go out with my coworkers, and I didn't realize that Melanie had also been invited. I tried my best to avoid her and just stuck next to Mark, one of my coworkers that I have a crush on. Mark speaks Spanish, and I caught myself throwing in random Spanish words in our conversation. We laughed about how I sounded like a TV character who would say, "Ay caramba," out of nowhere, and I felt like we were really bonding over this simple thing. Melanie pretended to be impressed at my Spanish and pulled out Google Translate to ask me questions. I started answering one, but mid-sentence she told me she couldn't believe how bad my pronunciation was. She laughed at me and tried to get others to join in, but it was just very awkward. She told me that after hearing my English, she thought my Spanish would be better. Mark and I just looked at each other very confused. I said my pronunciation wasn't wrong. I just learned Spanish by watching Argentinian soap operas, and that's why my accent sounds the way it does. She told me to stop lying and to just admit that it wasn't good. But Mark chimed in and told her that I did in fact speak with said accent, and my Spanish was excellent. Melanie said he didn't have to pretend to not hurt my feelings, and that I had to accept that I'm not good at everything. I burst out laughing, and I could tell she was pissed. I said she shouldn't speak about things she knows nothing about and that she was being an a-hole. The next day, Melanie came over to my apartment to apologize. She said that she shouldn't have tested me, but it's not her fault that I spoke too fast and with unusual pronunciation, so I couldn't blame her for thinking I didn't speak the language well. I couldn't believe that's what she considered an apology, so I just stood there baffled out of my mind. I could tell it annoyed her though, but she continued to speak. She apologized again and asked if I could tell the others how sorry she was. I told her I'd see what I could do, but I doubt they'll forgive her. I guess this gave her the push to be bold, so she asked if I could tell Mark how embarrassed and sorry she was. I actually laughed out loud. I knew Mark heard everything she said because he stayed the night after our outing with our coworkers. I kicked her out and told her that her apology meant nothing, and she was still an a-hole. Mark actually spoke to me in Spanish as I was closing the door, and I know she heard it. He told me that he wasn't going to forgive her. He also told me that since all of this started at work, I should tell our manager about her behavior, because she's creating a very toxic work environment, and she's difficult to work with. I took his advice the very next day and explained everything to our manager. She was very kind and actually witnessed some of Melanie's behavior firsthand, but never said anything since I never outright complained. I didn't hear anything about it until a week or so later when my manager came to tell me Melanie had complained about me. She tried to flip the script to make me look like the bad guy, saying that I was bullying her, laughed at her, and made everyone hate her. When Melanie heard my manager speaking in Spanish, she quickly accused her of discriminating against her. Melanie claimed that we were all ganging up on her because she doesn't speak Spanish, and were bullying her for it. She jumped her butt off to that conclusion. Safe to say she was fired on the spot.